You don't quit when nothing is happening. You quit when things finally start to move. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you walked away not at the beginning, when it was all confusion and doubt, but right when the first real signs of progress started to appear? A few more people noticing your work. A small but real result in your bank account. A subtle shift in how you think, how you act, how you feel. And then, almost on cue, everything inside you tightens. You feel tired. You feel exposed. You start hearing the voices. Be realistic. Don't get your hopes up. Who do you think you are? In this video, you're going to see why that exact moment is the most dangerous part of your journey. Napoleon Hill spent decades studying people who built fortunes from nothing, and people who came agonizingly close, then gave up. He discovered a pattern most of us live through but never recognize. The urge to quit peaks right before your turning point. Not at mile 1. Not when you're still lost in theory and planning. But when reality finally starts to bend in your favor. That's when the pressure arrives. That's when people around you get uncomfortable. That's when your old identity feels threatened. And that's usually when you tell yourself you're being practical or responsible, while quietly stepping away from the very thing that was about to change your life. If this already feels uncomfortably familiar, stay with me, because this video isn't about hype, manifesting, or promises of overnight success. It's about awareness, the kind of awareness that lets you look at your own pattern and finally say, I know what this is, and this time, I'm not backing off. As you watch, I want you to keep one question in the back of your mind. Where in your life did you almost turn the corner and walk away? If you've ever felt that sting, you're in the right place. Take a second to like this video so it reaches more people who need this, and if you're ready to stop repeating the same cycle, stay with me and consider subscribing. We're about to walk straight into the danger zone so you can finally make it through. He'll notice something almost no one else was talking about. When people start a new goal, they rarely quit in the first days. In the beginning, you're full of energy. You're excited. You're hopeful. You can handle a few weeks of effort without seeing much in return. Where most people quit is later, right after the first real signs of progress appear. Maybe you've felt this. You finally start to get some traction. A few clients appear. The scale starts to move. Your savings account is no longer at zero. People actually notice your work. And then, strangely, instead of feeling stronger, you begin to feel shaky. This is the danger zone Napoleon Hill kept seeing. Because progress doesn't come alone. It arrives with a package. Doubt, fatigue, and pressure. Doubt shows up as that quiet voice. Are you sure this is worth it? What if you're wasting your time? Fatigue whispers. You've been pushing so hard. You deserve a break. You don't have to go all the way with this. And then comes the pressure from people around you. You're never home anymore. You're too focused on this thing. Why don't you just be realistic? Notice something. None of this showed up when you were just talking about your plans. It appears when your plans start to work. That's the pattern. You don't usually quit in the dark. You quit when the first light appears, and your old life starts to feel threatened. Think back for a moment. How many times have you been here before? A relationship that was finally improving. A project that was about to pay off. A habit that was just starting to stick. And then you told yourself, maybe this isn't the right time. Maybe this isn't who I really am. If this is hitting home, pause this urge to look away. Stay with it, because recognizing this pattern in yourself is the first step to breaking it. If this is already making you see your past differently, you might want to tap like so you don't lose this reminder. And ask yourself honestly, where in your life are you feeling this danger zone right now? If you're ready to explore how not to repeat the same cycle again, stay with me and consider subscribing. The next sections will give you the tools to handle this moment differently. He'll notice something most people never see. You don't feel like quitting most when nothing is happening. You feel like quitting when things finally start to move. Think back to your own life. How many times have you started something? A business idea, a new habit, a project, and at first you were oddly calm. No big expectations, no real pressure. If it failed, well, you could always say you were just trying. But then a little progress showed up. You got your first client. You lost the first few pounds. People started asking about your project. Your work actually began to matter. And that's when the real storm began, didn't it? Suddenly, you weren't playing anymore. You had something to lose: your time, your reputation, your sense of identity. Hill saw this same pattern over and over. As people moved from "nothing's happening" to "something is finally working," they entered a psychological danger zone. Progress appeared at the exact same time as doubt. Asterisk, what if I'm not good enough? Asterisk, fatigue. Asterisk, I can't keep this up forever. Asterisk, social pressure. Asterisk, are you sure this is realistic? Asterisk, if this is resonating, pause and gently hit the like button so the algorithm knows this kind of clarity matters. Here's the trap. In this phase, giving up feels smart. You don't tell yourself, asterisk, I'm quitting. Asterisk, you tell yourself, asterisk, I'm being realistic. Asterisk, you rebrand surrender as maturity. But Hill would challenge you. Is it realism? Or is it fear dressed up in nice language? Be honest with yourself for a moment. How many times have you walked away right after things started to work, telling yourself you were choosing peace, when you were really choosing relief? In the next part of this video, you'll see exactly how Hill suggests you navigate this danger zone without burning out or blowing up your life. If you're tired of repeating the same pattern, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next steps. This time, you can stay in the game long enough to see what was always meant for you. There's a moment Hill saw again and again in his research. A strange, uncomfortable crossroads. On one side, your first real signs of progress finally show up. On the other, doubt, pressure, and exhaustion all spike at the same time. You know this feeling. You start getting a few clients, and suddenly people close to you say, "Are you sure this is stable? Maybe you should go back to something safe." You begin to see your body changing, your energy improving, and right then work gets heavier, sleep gets worse, and you don't have time anymore. You have one or two promising opportunities in front of you, and that's exactly when old fears return louder than ever. What if I fail now that it's actually working? Hill noticed. This tension isn't random. It almost always appears after you've already paid a big price in effort, and just before your effort is about to pay you back. So your mind does something very clever and very dangerous. It starts to rename quitting. It's no longer giving up. It's being realistic. It's choosing balance. It's not forcing things. You don't say, "I'm walking away from my breakthrough." You say, "Maybe this just isn't meant for me." But look honestly, how many times in your life has this exact script played out? You push, you struggle, you endure the hardest part. Then, the moment life asks you to hold your position just a little longer, you back off. If this is resonating, pause here and notice it. That recognition alone is valuable. If this has already made you see one moment in your past differently, you might want to tap like so you remember this insight later. Now, ask yourself a quiet question. Where, right now, are you calling it realism, when it might actually be your turning point? Because in the next part, we'll go deeper into what Hill discovered. The specific mental shifts that help you stay calmly in the game, right when your old pattern tells you to walk away. If you want to follow that exploration step by step, consider subscribing so you don't miss what comes next. Here's the part nobody likes to admit. You've probably already been in that danger zone Napoleon Hill describes. You just didn't have a name for it. It's that phase where things finally start to move, and instead of feeling excited, you feel strangely tempted to step back. You get a small win. A client signs. A video performs better. You stick to your routine for a few weeks. And then, almost on cue, the doubts arrive. Do I really want this life? Maybe this isn't sustainable. Who am I to think I can pull this off? People around you start weighing in. You're working too hard. Don't get your hopes up. Be realistic. Hill noticed a pattern. The pressure doesn't peak at the beginning. It spikes when results begin to appear. When your old identity feels threatened by your new behavior. Your mind isn't sabotaging you at random. It's trying to protect the person you used to be. So it makes very reasonable arguments. It dresses fear up as maturity. It calls retreat balance. It labels hesitation as thinking it through. And because you're responsible, thoughtful, logical, you listen. That's where countless people quit. Not at rock bottom, but at the first visible signs of progress. Inches from a turning point they will never know existed. If you've ever told yourself, I'm just being realistic, right when things started moving forward, Hill would invite you to ask, am I being realistic? Or am I getting scared because this might actually work? Notice how uncomfortable that question feels. Stay with it. You don't have to fight harder, hustle more, or shout affirmations in the mirror. You start by recognizing the pattern, naming it as it happens. If any of this is landing a bit too close to home, that's a sign you're not alone, and you're not broken. Pause for a second. Where, right now, might you be in that danger zone without realizing it? If this is helping you see your own journey more clearly, tap like so the platform shows you more of this kind of content. And consider subscribing so you don't miss the next part where we'll talk about what to do in that moment instead of backing off. And here's where Napoleon Hill's research gets uncomfortably specific. He noticed something that most people never see in their own lives. Your biggest temptation to quit almost never comes at the beginning. At the beginning, you're excited. You're full of ideas, plans, motivation. You tell people what you're going to do. You watch videos, read books, make notes. The real danger shows up later. It shows up when your idea finally starts to work, but not fast enough. When you start to see small results, but not the big ones you imagined. You're waking up earlier. You're a little stronger, a little sharper, a little more focused. Maybe a few clients come in. Tiny raise. A small opportunity. And right then, right when you're inching forward, your mind says, is this really worth it? Maybe this is as far as I go. Maybe I should be realistic. Hill called this zone a kind of emotional ambush. You're tired from the effort. People around you are questioning your choices. You feel guilty for not being as available, as social, as easygoing as before. And because the rewards are still small, it's easy to believe you're wasting your time. So you back off. Just a little. You skip a day. You answer, yeah, maybe you're right. When someone says you're chasing too much, you slow your pace, not because you decided to, but because doubt decided for you. Hill noticed that for so many people, this slowing down was actually the moment they walked away from the turning point. Look at your own life for a second. How many times did you start something, got past the messy middle, began to see the first signs of progress, and then you were the one who pulled the plug? If this is hitting a nerve, that's not a bad thing. That's awareness. If this perspective is opening your eyes a bit, you might want to tap like so you remember it later. Now be honest with yourself. Where in your life are you currently in this danger zone? And calling it being realistic. If you want help recognizing those patterns and staying in the game when it matters most, keep watching and consider subscribing. The next part of this journey will show you exactly how to cross that invisible line most people never get past. And here's the part Napoleon Hill warns almost nobody sees clearly, even the smart ones. You finally start getting results, and that's when you become most vulnerable to quitting. Think about it. At the beginning, it's almost easy to stay in the game. You're fueled by excitement, vision, and possibility. There's not much to lose. People may doubt you, but you can shrug it off because you're still just trying. Then something different happens. You get a promotion, but now you feel pressure to perform. Your side business starts making money. And suddenly everyone has an opinion about what you should do. You finally lose weight. And now people watch every bite you take. Progress arrives holding hands with new fears. This is the danger zone Hill describes. When the first signs of success appear, they drag along doubt, comparison, and the fear of being seen failing publicly. You begin to think thoughts that sound reasonable. Maybe this is as far as I can go. I should be realistic. I don't want to ruin what I've already built. On the surface, these sound mature. But underneath, they often hide a quieter truth. You're terrified of what the next level will demand from you. Hill observed this over and over. People don't just fear failure. They fear success that asks them to grow again. So you slow down. You take a step back. You tell yourself you're reassessing. And without realizing it, you walk away from the very momentum you spent years trying to create. Pause for a second and be honest with yourself. How many times have you backed off right when things started to work? If this is landing for you, stay with it. This awareness alone can save you from repeating the same pattern again. And if this is helpful, you might want to tap like, not for me, but as a note to yourself. This is a truth I need to remember. What part of your life is quietly entering this danger zone right now? If you want to keep exploring how to stay in the game when results and pressure show up together, consider subscribing. The next parts of this series go even deeper into exactly that. And this is where Napoleon Hill's research gets uncomfortably specific. He says people rarely quit in the dead, empty middle. They quit right after something finally starts working. Think back. How many times have you done this? You launch the project. You finally start going to the gym. You commit to the business. At first, it's pure resistance. You're just trying to get moving. Then, slowly, you see it, a little progress. Client says yes. The scale moves. Someone shares your work. And almost immediately, a new kind of pressure shows up. Can I really handle this? What if I can't keep this up? What if I look stupid if this fails later? Hill noticed a pattern. When results begin to appear, two forces rise together, your external progress and your internal sabotage. This is the real danger zone. Not the days when nothing is happening. The days when something is finally happening. You tell yourself you're being practical by slowing down. You say things like, I should be realistic. I don't want to push too hard. Maybe this is enough. But often that's not wisdom. That's fear wearing a responsible mask. Hill would challenge you here. Are you adjusting your path intelligently, or quietly backing away from your turning point? Pause and scan your own life for a second. Where did you walk away after the first signs of success? A relationship that was healing, a career move that was just starting to open doors, a habit that was finally sticking. If any example popped into your mind just now, stay with it. That discomfort, that's your awareness waking up. If this is resonating, hit like so you remember this moment later, because you will face this pattern again. Now, be honest with yourself. Where in your life are you seeing small wins and secretly planning your exit? In the next part, you'll see exactly how Hill suggests you respond when progress and panic arrive together, so you can stay in the game instead of repeating the same old story. If you don't want to miss that, go ahead and subscribe now. There's one more trap Napoleon Hill warns about that almost nobody talks about. It's when things finally start working, and you quietly sabotage them. You say you want progress. You say you want freedom. But the moment results begin to appear, another voice wakes up inside you and says, this is too much responsibility. What if I can't keep this up? What if I rise and then fall? So you slow down just a little. You miss one habit. You delay one decision. You tell yourself, I'll continue when things calm down. But things don't calm down. You do. Hill saw it over and over. People weren't only afraid of failure, they were afraid of success. Afraid of becoming someone their old life wouldn't recognize. Afraid of leaving behind the identity that felt safe, even if it was painful. Look at your own life with honesty. How many times did you finally get traction, and then eased off just for a while? How many times did doors start to open, and you talked yourself out of walking through them? You might even have called it being responsible, thinking of the family, or being realistic. But underneath those words was something else. Fear of the new version of you. Hill's advice is simple, but not easy. When progress begins, double your awareness. Notice the urge to back away. Notice the sudden good reasons to stop. Notice who gets uncomfortable when you change, and how quickly their discomfort becomes your excuse. If this is landing for you, pause and really sit with it. Has this pattern quietly ruled your life? If it has, you're not alone, and you're not broken. You're just human, facing the same inner conflict Hill watched in thousands of people. If this perspective is opening your eyes, you might want to like this video so you can revisit it later. And I'd love to know in the comments, where in your life did you slow down right when progress started? If you're ready to stop repeating that pattern, consider subscribing. The next parts of this series will walk you step by step through staying in motion when your old life begs you to turn back. So here's the uncomfortable truth Hill kept repeating. Most people don't fail because the goal was impossible. They fail because they renegotiate the goal the moment it starts asking for more of them. You know exactly how that sounds in your own head. I don't need to push this hard. It's not that important. I should just be grateful for what I already have. Gratitude is good. Using gratitude as a shield to avoid growth is not. He'll notice something that probably matches your experience. When you first set a goal, your energy is high, your doubts are low, and the obstacles feel theoretical. But as soon as your actions begin to create real friction in your life, time conflicts, hard choices, uncomfortable conversations, that's when your mind starts rewriting the story. You begin softening your standards. You start telling yourself, I'm just being realistic, when actually you're lowering the bar to match your current level of discomfort. This is the most dangerous form of quitting because it doesn't look like quitting. You don't say, I give up. You say, I've decided to focus on what truly matters right now. Hill would challenge you here. Is that wisdom talking, or fear wearing a wise mask? You owe it to yourself to answer that honestly. Look back at the last few years of your life. How many projects, habits, relationships almost became turning points, but you declared them no longer aligned right when they started demanding more courage. If you're finding this confronting and strangely familiar, it might help someone else too. You can tap the like button so this message reaches more people who are in the same danger zone you've been in. But I'm more interested in you. Where in your life are you currently being realistic, but deep down you suspect you're actually backing away from a breakthrough? Sit with that question for a moment. In the next part, we'll explore how Hill suggests you protect your vision from this subtle self-sabotage without sacrificing your peace of mind. If you want to keep unpacking this with me, you can subscribe and just let the next chapter meet you when you're ready for it. And this is where most people ask, but what if I'm actually wrong? What if I'm forcing something that isn't meant for me? That's a fair question, and it's exactly why so many quit right before they win. They confuse temporary resistance with a permanent dead end. Napoleon Hill noticed something simple but uncomfortable. The closer people got to their breakthrough, the more reasonable their excuses became. Not dramatic, not emotional, reasonable. I should be responsible. This is taking too long. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this. I have to be realistic. Those thoughts sound mature, grounded, adult. But in many cases, they're not wisdom. They're fear dressed up in a suit and tie. Your job in this phase isn't to ignore all doubt. Your job is to interrogate it. Ask it, is this doubt protecting me from real danger or just from discomfort? Am I basing this decision on facts or on fatigue? If I walked away today, would I feel relief or regret? Hill would tell you, never make a final decision at your emotional low point. Rest there. Reflect there. But don't decide there. Sleep. Take one small step instead of 10. Shorten the to-do list, but don't burn the goal. And remember, progress rarely feels like a victory parade. Feels like friction. Feels like awkward conversations, uncertain next steps, slow, boring consistency, tiny wins nobody else notices. If you're there now, that's not a sign you're off track. That might be the first solid evidence you're finally on it. If this is resonating, it's probably because you can see your own pattern. If you're finding this helpful so far, you can quietly tap the like button. It helps this message reach more people who are in the same place as you. Then ask yourself honestly, where in your life are you calling it being realistic, when it might actually be you backing away from a turning point? If you want support staying in the game while things are still messy and unclear, consider subscribing. The next videos are designed to walk with you through this exact phase so you don't quit when it finally starts to move. So now you can see it. You weren't cursed. You weren't unlucky. You were standing in the exact pattern Napoleon Hill described, and you didn't know it. Looking back, how many times did it happen? You started something. You pushed through the slow, invisible beginning. Then, right when small wins finally appeared, so did doubt, pressure, fatigue. Be realistic. Maybe this isn't for you, and you called it a sign. Hill would call it something else, the danger zone, the place where most people quietly walk away from the life they actually wanted. Now you know that pattern has a name. You know it isn't proof that you're not capable. It's proof that you're close. The next time you feel that strange mix of progress and fear, pause. Ask yourself, am I really being realistic? Or am I standing 3 feet from gold again? If this video hit a nerve, that's a clue. It means you recognized yourself in these stories. Not the polished success story at the end, but the moment right before it, when it would have been so easy to quit. You don't have to repeat that scene. You can decide that this is the chapter where you stay in the room a little longer, where you send one more proposal, record one more video, have one more uncomfortable conversation. Trust yourself for one more season. If this helped you see your journey differently, let it reflect back. Tap like, not for the algorithm, but as a quiet commitment to yourself. I'm not walking away at the turning point again. And I'd like to hear from you. Where in your life do you suspect you might be 3 feet from gold right now? Share it in the comments. Put it in words. Sometimes naming it is the first step to not abandoning it. If you want more content that doesn't sell fantasy, but helps you recognize these invisible turning points in your real life, subscribe and stay close. You've spent enough years almost changing your life. From here on, you finish the ones that matter.